Hey, Noah Wyka here for Wyka Tech Paintball. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Viewloader Maxis paintball marker. First off, you probably know Viewloader is not in business anymore. You can't get this thing new from any company, I don't think. Viewloader was bought up by Key Sports along with WGP, JT, and a couple others. They're now known as Empire. But this specific model is about a 2008 vintage. It's a fairly new gun by any standards. So far this gun's seen probably 3,000 or 4,000 rounds, and I don't know, I used it probably 2 hard days of play. So the thing that I like a lot about the Maxis is this drop forward piece here. It is about a 3-inch drop from the bottom of the grip frame to where your tank comes in, and it moves it forward another probably 3 inches, so it's a 3x3 drop. That allows you to bring the marker up fairly quickly in sight with a tank in your shoulder, and you can sight pretty quick with it. It is a blowback mechanical, which by a lot of players that would be too slow or not kind of flashy enough, I guess. For me, it works just perfectly. I play woods ball and recreational ball, and I haven't seen a problem with the rate of fire at all. Of course, if I'm playing up against like uncapped egos or NT11s or whatever, then yeah, I'm going to notice a little difference. But for the most part, playing against like rental 98s or a couple other walk-ons with A5s, X7, stuff like that, this thing keeps up just fine. Another nice feature about the Maxis is this blade trigger here. I don't know if you can see that, but the trigger, rather than having 2 separate notches for the fingers, it's got just a straight trigger. That's the kind that I prefer. I know some people like that double style. I have a straight trigger on my autococker, and I can walk that much faster than a traditional double gripped or double notched trigger. So you can see I can get there probably 8 or 9 BPS if I'm really working, which is a lot better than like a single triggered 98 or something like that. So the thing I like also about the Maxis is it's a standard stacked tube blowback, which makes maintenance very easy. All you got to do is pop this thing out, pull the internals out, and you're done. The internals actually look pretty good. I bought this a couple months ago, and it was actually pretty brand new. I think a lady owned it for probably 3 years and used it one day, and the rest of the time it just kind of sat in her closet. So it still had the factory lube on it. None of the screws had been touched, hardly at all. Nothing had been taken apart ever. So I essentially got this thing in mint condition. This is my older Viewloader Triton 2. This is the same gun that I bought. It's actually the very first gun that I ever owned. This thing has seen probably 20 to 30 cases. For you math newbies, that's 40 to 50,000 rounds. Well, 60,000 I guess if you're talking the upper end. But you can see there's very little wear in this, which is nice for a stack tube. I'm kind of using that Triton as a gauge for this, just to see how old it's going to get. I've been monitoring that to see just what the wear is or whatever after a certain number of rounds. So with this, when I got it, it looked like it had been fired maybe 1,000 times, something like that. So it's a pretty young gun so far. You can see there's no scratches anywhere on it. Another nice feature about this is the threaded feed neck. You can take your feed neck off like that if you need to adjust something, put any kind of feed neck on there, whatever. It's nice and threaded. You can also unbolt this feed neck just like a Spyder. So the Maxis is actually one of the heaviest duty stack tubes that I've ever seen. Even heavier than a Spyder or something like that. This thing, I have no fear of breaking it at all. The metal is actually thicker than it is on my Triton. Probably just because of this powder coat and anodizing here. It does have an expansion chamber here. This is just the standard Maxis model. They make what's called a Maxis RG, or regulator grip, which this would be replaced by a regulator. There's also the Maxis EG electronic gun, where this is also a regulator and it has the Viewloader Pro trigger frame. So for any kind of budget, I would recommend this Maxis. If you can find it used. I think PB Nation, just searching, I found probably 10 or 15 different hits on a standard Maxis and all of its variations. I found like RGs. I think you can get an RG for probably 50 bucks. The electronic will probably go for, oh, I don't know, 50 to 75, somewhere in there. I got this one for 20, mostly because the guy didn't know what he had. So yep, just uses standard Viewloader internals. I can swap everything out from here with my Triton over there and it'll work just fine. It has a volumizer here which lends itself to consistency, as well as this X chamber here. This is a vertical ASA piece. I can take this off, put it on my Triton, and run a vertical ASA on that as well. So this allows me to run regulators. If my line ever fails or starts leaking, I can run a vertical tank. I can run a remote directly into here, just bypassing this. So the Maxis is a pretty evolved beginner marker. If you could get it, I would recommend it. Actually, I wouldn't recommend it over a Tipman, but it's pretty even. If you don't want to spend the money for a Tipman, I know new 98 customs go for about 175 bucks. Used, you can probably find 100. But this you can find on PB Nation somewhere around 50 to 75 bucks, which is a pretty good deal. I believe these retail just this standard model for about $90 to $100. As soon as you start getting into regulator and E-grip and stuff, that gets more expensive. I think the high-end electronic with the regulator is about 150 bucks. So basically this is a nice little gun for your money. It's not ever going to break, and so far I've had no problems with it in probably 4 cases I put through it. So yeah, thanks.